The first episode starts with Simone Andersen running to school, late for her exams. Simone's friends are waiting for her in the classroom and their group is up next. The teacher warns them that if they take any longer than 2 minutes, they will be kicked out of the exam. Just in time, Simone arrives in the classroom, saving the assignment. However, before they can enter the exam hall, Simone's father, Frederick Andersen, comes running in and interrupts the group of friends. Simone is confused by her father's anxious behavior as he grabs her arm and tells her they have to leave immediately. Simone is surprised and explains that she has exams to finish, but her father tells her that it's an emergency. Frederick instructs Simone's friends to go home and stay inside. He reveals that Simone's brother, Rasmus, and her mother are waiting for her in the car. He warns his daughter that they must leave before the rain starts. Once they are in the car, Simone demands an explanation. However, Frederick is on the phone with someone named Sten and is not paying attention to her. He tells Sten that they will be there soon without providing details. Simone's mother takes the phone away from Frederick because they are driving dangerously fast on the highway. Meanwhile, the radio announces that people in the Vordingborg area are developing respiratory problems after the heavy rainfall. Simone looks at the back window and sees dark rain clouds approaching quickly. Rasmus gets restless in the back seat and unbuckles his seatbelt. In response, his mother scolds him to put it back on. In the ensuing confusion, they get into a car accident and narrowly avoid serious injuries. A van driver comes up to them and checks if everything is okay. Instead of answering, Frederick yells at him to move his truck out of the way, or else all of them would die due to the rain. Realizing they cannot continue driving due to the traffic jam, the Andersen family abandons their car and heads for the forest on foot. Just as they are about to enter the forest, Simone turns back and sees the van driver looking at them suspiciously. Once they are deep in the forest, Frederick takes the charge and urges everyone to run faster. After a while, they reach a mysterious safe house with the name Apollon written over it. Rasmus recognizes the name Apollon as his father works for the company. To everyone's surprise, Frederick opens the door using his fingerprints and urges everyone to go inside quickly as the rain is about to start. Inside the safe house, they enter a disinfecting chamber and descend into a bunker. Frederick explains that Apollon built these shelters for emergencies, and in here, they have everything needed to survive. He then hands his wife an electronic manual for the bunker and says that he has to leave immediately. Confused by the rapid turn of events, the kids follow their mother to the kitchen. However, Frederick pulls Simone aside and reveals that there is a deadly virus in the rain and that the situation is much worse than she could imagine. He warns her that nobody should ever find Rasmus because he is the key to the problem. After entrusting Simone with her younger brother's safety, Frederick leaves through a tunnel without any further explanation. As they attempt to make sense of the events, Simone watches videos on her phone showing chaotic scenes in Vordingborg. People are terrified and pleading for help on social media. Meanwhile, Rasmus struggles to adjust to the bunker and demands answers from his mother. In response, their mother makes them hot chocolate thinking that would calm her young son. Suddenly, they hear loud banging noises from the upstairs door. Simone assumes it is their father and urges her mother to open the door. However, her mother dismisses the request, assuring Simone that he knows the entry code. But before she can stop them, the kids rush out and open the bunker door. It is raining hard outside, and the van driver they met earlier stands at the door, screaming in agony. He grabs Rasmus by his shirt and tries to pull himself inside. Fortunately, their mother lunges at the driver, rescuing Rasmus. However, both the mother and the driver are horrifically killed as the rain mercilessly falls on them. With no choice, the kids close the bunker door and go inside. Simone, devastated by her mother's death, is determined to reach her father. However, communication is crippled, the mobile network is down, and the electronic communication system between the Apollon bunkers has failed. As they explore the bunker, searching for a way to contact their father, the children stumble upon a radio. With renewed hope, they switch it on, and to their surprise, they manage to connect with someone named Philip. Philip informs them of a hospital near Vordingborg, where a pickup center has been established. Furthermore, Simone requests Philip to try contacting her father over the landline and inform her of any updates the next time he calls. Simone, however, can't muster the courage to leave the bunker and visit the hospital. Her father's words, urging her to protect her brother, echoes in her mind. A flashback scene transports her to a hospital room, where Rasmus lies critically ill. His parents grapple with a difficult decision. Frederick fears the risks of using a potent but untested treatment on his son, while his wife insists it is the only way to save their son. Overcome by her protective instincts, Simone abandons her plan to venture outside. Instead, she reaffirms her commitment to stay inside and safeguard her brother. With renewed vigor, she cheers him up with lively dances and engages him in indoor gardening. Determined to become self-reliant, she masters the act of changing the air purification filter, enabling her to manage the bunker independently. The next scene takes us 5 years in the future where Rasmus is no longer a small kid. However, his longing for the outside world remains unchanged. Meanwhile, Simone faced a harsh reality. Their food supplies are dwindling, making an inevitable escape from the bunker their only option. Later that night, she dons her protective suit and ventures into the unknown, leaving Rasmus asleep in the safety of their bunker. Emerging from the bunker, Simone tries to locate her mother's remains as she died right outside the door. Instead, she is greeted by an overgrown forest and a gentle deer. Her path leads her to the supposed pickup point at the hospital. But instead of a hopeful gathering of people, she is confronted with the grim sight of decaying dead bodies. A chilling memory resurfaces as she has a flashback, an intense debate between her parents. Her father, driven by an unwavering belief in his ability to save countless lives, advocates for releasing a virus capable of eradicating multi-resistant bacteria. Her mother, however, cautions against the unknown consequences of such an act. Despite her warnings, her father remained resolute in his conviction. When the flashback ends, she finds no living soul in the hospital except a dog that chases her. Simone rushes back to the bunker just as Rasmus wakes up. After learning of her fruitless search outside, they make a decision to venture out together the following day. However, their plans are disrupted overnight when the bunker's air vents become blocked, causing oxygen levels to plummet dangerously. In a desperate act to save Simone from suffocation, a disoriented Rasmus drags her out of the bunker without any protective gear. Before they can catch a breather in the open, the siblings are swiftly surrounded by 5 suited individuals. In the final scene of the first episode, we see the leader of the mysterious group, brandishing a gun, menacingly orders the brother and sister to go back into the bunker. Episode 2 Stay Together begins with a scene inside an army truck transporting a group of soldiers on their way to patrol the streets. The truck arrives at the bridge, marking the boundary between the infected and non-infected zones. Those who have been exposed to the rain or infected individuals without undergoing quarantine are prohibited from crossing the safety line. The commander issues a strict order: use deadly force if anyone disobeys. They drop off a lone soldier, Martin, who is assigned to the first shift. Back at the bunker, the masked men lock Simone and Rasmus in a room and scour the bunker for food. Simone protests that they are not infected and have been isolated in the bunker for 6 years, but the leader counters that he saw her in town. Finding nothing of value, the group prepares to depart. However, Simone captures the leader's attention by revealing the bunker's electronic manual, which contains a map of other similar bunkers. She shatters the manual, forcing the leader to take them along. In the meantime, on the bridge, Martin spots a woman approaching with a baby in her arms. He sternly orders her to halt and fires a warning shot. However, overcome with emotion, he is unable to pull the trigger even as she crosses the safety line. His nightmare comes true as a distress call from his command center soon follows. Upon reaching the scene, Martin finds all his fellow soldiers dead, except for the one who had made the call. Helplessly, Martin watches as the remaining soldier succumbs to a painful death, having earlier touched the infected baby. With his entire unit wiped out, Martin flees in terror. Meanwhile, guided by Simone and Rasmus, the bunker group, Matt, Beatrice, Jean, Patrick, and Lee, sets out in search of another bunker for food. Despite their general mistrust of the siblings, Beatrice strikes up a conversation with Rasmus as they walk along the road. Suddenly, a vehicle screeches to a halt nearby, and 2 masked men in army gear emerge. The group scrambles for cover under a sheet of aluminum, explained by Beatrice to be a shield against heat-seeking drones used to capture and torture survivors. The drone fails to detect them but spots another woman fleeing nearby. Beatrice pleads with the group to rescue the woman, and they reluctantly give chase. However, before anyone can reach her, the woman plunges into a stream contaminated with a dead animal. In a grim display of this world's harsh realities, Martin shoots and kills both the masked men and the woman. Patrick retrieves the drone, now folded inside a ball-like shell from one of the dead masked men. Later that night, the group finds refuge in an abandoned school. The stark contrast between the siblings and the rest of the group becomes evident when Rasmus struggles to wear boots from a dead body, a task the others have grown accustomed to. Patrick, upon seeing Rasmus's drawings, mocks him and expresses disbelief that the siblings could have survived underground for 6 years. Deep into the night, Rasmus inadvertently witnesses Beatrice and Martin engaged in an intimate moment. The next day, Rasmus tries to avoid Beatrice, who attempts to engage him in conversation. They keep on walking, searching for the next bunker. In an unfortunate turn of events, Rasmus accidentally steps on water. With absolutely no hesitation, Martin raises his gun, ready to shoot him. However, Simone intervenes, asking Beatrice to check if Rasmus's boots are leaking. Beatrice confirms that Rasmus's foot is dry, preventing Martin from pulling the trigger. Finally, the group stumbles upon a bunker. An intrigued Martin observes Simone unlock the door using her fingerprints. Inside, as others indulge in eating the ration stored in the bunker, she discovers her father's mobile phone, containing a video message from his former boss. The second episode ends as Simone plays the video message for Rasmus. The message urges Frederick to proceed to Apollin's main headquarters in Sweden at any cost, as he is the only individual capable of halting the catastrophe. The third episode, titled Avoid the City, begins with a flashback scene. Beatrice, Lee, and Jean are desperately fleeing from two men, Martin and Patrick. Patrick urges Martin to eliminate the three strangers and simply seize their belongings. However, Martin lowers his weapon when Beatrice assures him that she can lead him to food. Back in the present, Simone presents Martin with the video message discovered on her father's phone. She attempts to persuade him to accompany her to Sweden, where they might encounter her father. Martin swiftly rejects this notion, having previously encountered numerous false claims of safe havens. The only remaining route from Denmark to Sweden is via the Long Bridge in Copenhagen. Any survivors encountered along the way would readily kill them for food. Martin instructs them to follow the train tracks and avoid strangers before allowing the siblings to depart for Sweden. A few hours later, upon learning of the siblings' departure for Sweden, Lee and Beatrice realize that they are doomed without assistance. Driven by her compassionate nature, Lee insists on helping the siblings, recalling their previous acts of kindness. Determined to aid the vulnerable duo, Lee, Beatrice, and Jean follow them, eventually catching up with the siblings in the desolate city center. Patrick and Matt remain in the bunker, with Matt attempting to mask his distress over Beatrice's departure. As he grapples with the reasons behind her decision, the scene shifts to a flashback. Beatrice and her two companions escort Martin and Patrick to the greenhouse, where Jean prepares a meal for them. Following a brief exchange of conversation, the group settles for the night in the greenhouse. Later, under the cloak of darkness, Beatrice engages in an intimate affair with Martin. In the present day, after a period of deliberation, Martin decides to pursue Beatrice and the rest of the group, much to Patrick's disappointment. Martin's decision clearly indicates his feelings for Beatrice. Meanwhile, in the city center, the group takes refuge in an abandoned Burger King to eat their rationed lunch that they packed from the bunker. Lee and Jean temporarily excuse themselves to find a new pair of glasses for Jean to improve his vision. However, the situation takes a turn for the worse, as a group of starving survivors stumbles upon the group while they are enjoying their meal. Simone, Rasmus, and Beatrice run in a desperate attempt to escape, resulting in their division into smaller groups. Outside, ominous rain clouds gather rapidly. Beatrice and Rasmus seek refuge in a bungalow nearby. Separated from the rest of the group, Beatrice tells Rasmus that she has a deeply guarded secret. She discloses that this was her childhood home, where she was born and raised. Recalling the tumultuous divorce between her parents, she admits leaving home to escape the emotional turmoil and going to a movie to forget the problems at home. Upon returning, she found the world transformed by the devastating rain. Her father had left her 3 separate messages, first reporting her mother's death, the second reporting his own rapidly deteriorating health, and the third message was simply empty. Ever since, she has never looked back. Meanwhile, Martin and Patrick also make their way to the city center. They are hiding in a wreckage of an overturned bus waiting for the rain to subside. Patrick still has the drone shell he acquired from the 2 soldiers in the forest. After being unable to make it work, he tosses the shell onto the ground in a fit of frustration. Yet, unexpectedly, a map projects from the shell. They notice a bold red line on one edge of the map, depicting a wall that separates 2 parts of the city. Martin realizes that this wall separates the quarantine zone where all the infected people are from the safe zone, where the healthy people live. Meanwhile, alone and separated from the rest of the group, Simone seeks shelter in an abandoned building with a young boy she found on the street. Upon discovering him taking morphine pills, she offers him a packet of food from the bunker. His father expresses his gratitude and reveals their intention to cross the bridge to seek medical attention for their son in a place called Little Bjard. Inspired by this news, Simone decides to venture out once the rain subsides. However, her act of kindness does not go unnoticed. The packet of food attracts the attention of the starving survivors, who trail her. Before Simone can alert her friends, who are waiting for her at the Burger King, a ravenous but uninfected man follows her back to the group. He seizes Rasmus and brandishes a knife, threatening to harm him if they don't surrender their food. Simone frantically instructs Jean to hand over his food rations. In the heat of the moment, she accidentally reveals the existence of another bunker with an abundance of food. The man, driven by desperation, demands to know more about this bunker. Suddenly, Martin appears on the scene and threatens to shoot the man unless he releases Rasmus. However, the man plunges a knife into Rasmus's abdomen and flees with the food, leaving the group in a state of shock. The group put Rasmus in a shopping cart and run towards the nearby bunker. However, they find that the bunker has been broken in and ransacked. They lay down Rasmus on the bed and wrap the wound with duct tape. Beatrice volunteers to look after him, allowing Simone to rest. With Rasmus gravely injured, the group hastily transports him in a shopping cart towards the nearby bunker. However, upon reaching the bunker, they discover it has been ransacked and left in ruins. They gently place Rasmus on a bed and hastily bandage his wound with duct tape. Recognizing the need for rest, Beatrice volunteers to care for Rasmus, allowing Simone to take a much-needed break. In a flashback scene, we are transported to the early days of Beatrice and Martin's encounter. The day after their shared dinner, Martin suggests that it might be best for them to part ways. However, Beatrice reveals a deeply buried secret. Gesturing towards a small house near the road, she discloses that it was her childhood home, where she witnessed the tragic demise of her parents and younger sister in the aftermath of the rain catastrophe. Since that fateful day, she has never dared to enter the house. Beatrice urges Martin to include her and her companions in his journey, emphasizing the strength and protection that come with traveling together rather than venturing alone. The third episode concludes with Simone and Martin huddled in the bunker, deliberating their next move. Simone informs him of the supposed existence of a doctor in Little Biard, accessible through a bridge crossing. Meanwhile, Martin reveals the holographic map they acquired, revealing a walled-off area encompassing a portion of Denmark. He speculates that this region serves as a quarantine zone, and beyond its borders, the population has been spared from the affliction. With this newfound information, Martin proposes their journey towards this uninfected territory.